Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of our seminar series of the Sustainable Development Goals, or the SDGs. This seminar series features a variety of topics that center around the SDGs and ASEAN relevant to the field of impact investing. Today, we're very excited to bring you the fourth session on social impact management and the introduction of SDG impact standard. My name is Aya Ono, and I am a Junior Program Manager in the Trade and Investment Cluster at ASEAN-Japan Center, and I'll be the MC of the webinar today. And just to recap the past sessions in the seminar series so far, we kicked off this seminar series in May, highlighting that the impact investing as a practice does have the potential of accelerating the achievement of the SDGs, and it's particularly so in the decade of action. We had Mr. Mason Tan from Garden Impact Fund as a case to illustrate ASEAN-based impact investment fund investing in ASEAN. In our second webinar in August, we had Real Tech Holdings, which is a Japanese tech-based impact investor investing in deep tech startups in ASEAN. Early this month in the third session, we showcased 3 successful businesses as impact investees in ASEAN. And all of those videos are available on our YouTube channel. And today we will focus on the topic very much talked about in all sectors, from the government to nonprofit to the private sector these days. And we have a perfect lecturer for this to explain the current movement and the landscape in this space. For your information, the webinar is broadcasted in both English and Japanese. So if you're using a Zoom app on your phone or computer, please click on the icon that says interpretation to switch the language. The webinar today will have about 15 minutes of the lecturer giving the presentation and about 30 to 40 minutes of the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to send them through via the chat box on Zoom. And finally, the presentation slides will be emailed out to you once you complete the survey questionnaire at the end of the webinar. So we'd very much appreciate your feedback. So that's about it for housekeeping. And now let me introduce the speaker, Mr. Ken Ito. And speakers we invite in this seminar series are all amazing and remarkable. And it's again our privilege to have Mr. Ken Ito with us today. Mr. Ken Ito is a founder and an executive director of Social Value Japan, but he actually has so many hats to wear, and he's currently a project assistant professor in the Graduate School of Media and Governance at Keio University. At the same time, he's the East Asia Director at Asia Venture Philanthropy Network. And among others, Mr. Ito is also a special advisor and a board member of government agencies and many businesses and organizations. And if I may, he has actually been my professional mentor since 2014. And when I was doing PhD, that was. So it's been about 7 years. And this is like a dream come true moment for me personally. So thank you very much, Ito-san, for accepting to give a talk today. And now, Ito-san, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ken Ito. As Ms. Aya Ono kindly introduced, I'm an executive director of Social Value Japan. I'm very honored to be here to speak about some of my work on the social impact. To introduce that C has just introduced, I have several hats, but I have been running this organization called Social Value Japan since 2012. That was almost 10 years ago. And this is interesting journey to witness that how social impact is discussed and what players get active in the field, in the business, public sector, or non-profit. So I would be happy if some of my experience and insight will help the audience to understand how the social impact discussion will contribute to the society and contribute to your business to drive the society better. And this is one of the core topic on the impact investing, since the impact investing is to how to make a difference on that social impact on the top of the financial returns. So that is the how to say the core part of the theory. So today I have several topics to touch on. One is that how social impact is discussed in the field of business management. And the secondly, that how to assess the social impact. There's a different methodologies, and actually there's a convergence of different method to several focus points. So I will talk about how this process is taking place nowadays. And also the other keyword today is the impact management. So this is rather a new term. If I remember correctly, that in 2016, American Evaluation Association had the sub-session on the impact management. I think that was kind of fast timing that this word was widely used in the both academic and practitioners. And lastly, I'd like to introduce SDG impact. This is a big topic, and fortunately, Social Value International, which Social Value Japan joined as an affiliate organization, has an agreement with UNDP to develop and deliver the training on this framework. So I think this topic will help the audience to understand how this is conducted, how this is discussed, and what's the prospect for the future. So as you know that the social investment, as we have discussed in the prior sessions, is emerging. And you can see all different numbers, and the so-called ESG investment is booming, and now it is reached to $30 trillion. And this wave of investment is affecting the issuers of the stocks and bonds, because they need to respond to the investors' needs to realize the social value through the business activities. And if you look at the particular set of the investment with the clear mission on the impact, and we have more than $700 billion globally has accumulated the investment for the impact investing. And for Japan itself, we also have 5.6 billion. So that is a significant amount of investment. And you can see that all different know-hows, the insights were produced through the effort to make this happen. Since the impact assessment or impact management is an important part of these practices. And as you can see from the right-hand side, we have all different organizations playing a key role. As you know that the turning point for Japan market was the 2015, where the GPIF signed on the PRI, the signatories. And also we are seeing the organizations like GSG or IMP to play a key intermediary role to facilitate the discussions. Important background on this is that how we measure the value. And this is interesting, the figure on the ratio of intangible asset in S&P 500 companies. And as you can see, from in the middle of the 70s to 2020, there's a dramatic change on the ratio between tangible asset and intangible asset. And nowadays, it is estimated that more than 90% of the asset is an intangible asset. So what this means? So this actually very much related to our discussion on the social impact. So this shows that the people are looking at the intangible values, like brand values or intellectual assets, and also their potential impact to the society as a kind of future value of the business. And what they investment into is also the intangible asset that will demonstrate its value in the mid-long term. So this is a kind of global discussion, but particularly from my point of view, there's 3 different kinds of discussions. One is about how to create a value among different sectors in the business. So as you can see from the previous slide, that the majority of the corporate value is intangible. So how to capture this intangible value? It is always difficult to put the price on that. So the people are trying to understand, are we creating a value to the stakeholders, to the society? And they are naturally interested in the methodologies to put a measurement on it. And also the wave of ESG investment, as I mentioned, that is impacting the corporate sector. So there's an interesting the dynamics of these stakeholders. I feel this from the different inquiries to my organization. So when I started this nonprofit organization in 2012, the majority of the inquiries are from foundations, nonprofit sectors, government. But maybe in the 2015-16, the quality of the inquiry has changed a lot. Even the same corporate, my contact point used to be corporate CSR people. But nowadays, the people from the corporate planning, the investment relations come to us to say that we need to find out appropriate measurement with a social value. So, and I will always, what was your starting point to discuss this internally? And many people started to say that, well, this is a requirement from market. So this is totally different situation that social value was mainly discussed by the government and nonprofit 10 years ago. And also there's interesting the initiation of the discussion among the venture communities. So the ventures seeking for the funding from the business angels or venture capitalists always ask that what value you can demonstrate in the potential like IPOs or some buyouts. But some of the venture companies started to say that this is not the way we want to structure the business. So some of you have heard about the social IPO kind of ideas, that how to maximize the social value instead of the monetized value in the stock market when they go public. So these different the discussions is a kind of mixture of the drivers, how this market, impact market, is expanding. So get back to the basics, so that some people ask me that what do you mean by the social impact? So this was a long discussion before the SDGs coming up to our table. So I have mixed feeling that if somebody say that when I ask my student that why SDGs is important to the society, and some people say that, well, it is defined by the UN, Japanese government are driving it, but actually there's a lot of discussion behind the definition, how we define the social value. But it is a great opportunity for us that we have a consensus of the social value, that how we can agree on the particular set of the social value we see as a goal to achieve. So this is an interesting trend over a decade, as I mentioned, that originally the social investment used to be a very small fraction of the market. And I have to confess that when I was a student, I was kind of skeptical. Oh, the social responsibility investment, maybe that is a kind of the posture of these companies to doing as a marketing effort. But eventually, we are seeing all different investors exercising their influence to the corporate behavior. So that is a clear trickle-down effect to the ground. So there's several turning point of the market. So in the 2013, G8 has set impact investing as one of the agenda at the UK summit. Or actually, that was called a social impact investing at that time. And also, in the same year, the UK has passed the Social Value Act, which defines the public procurement to consider social value, not only the price and the quality of the service, but consider social value behind that. And as I mentioned that in 2015 in Japan, there was the big turning point of GPIF signed the PRI. And in 2016, Impact Management Project was established, which is the consortium of different major players in the field. So as I mentioned in the beginning, the convergence is a kind of a keyword. So some people come to me and ask that, so Ken, I hear that you are conducting impact assessment or impact management. So which methodology are you using? That was very typical, the question. And they know that there's a number of different approaches. But as I explain later, this is getting to be kind of similar sets of knowledge. And the organization like IMP or UNDP, who is leading SDG impact initiatives, is nicely facilitating discussion to find that what factors will be helping each other to make it a complete set of knowledge for the corporates or governments or nonprofit to exercise social impact management. So this is kind of a journey that we went through. So one example I can clearly clearly tell as a showcase is the one of the project I'm working with the Kumon company. I think all the people in Japan or even Asia know that what Kumon does. That they are basically the distance learning or the classroom, like in the or classroom setting. They provide educational services for the children, but actually they have a small corporate venture called the Learning Therapy program, and which provide a similar service to the elderly people to prevent dementia. As maybe you can easily imagine, these mathematics or like language, like small exercises will stimulate the brain function of the elder people to prevent them into the like dementia symptoms, which will help them to keep away from the elderly care services. And this type of like a prevention care is the very much promoted by the government, the ministries. But until recently, there is a long debate that how we can assess the value of these services. So maybe 100 elderly people come to the community center to do some exercise, keep their physical fitness, or maybe take a lunch with healthy, like the nutritious lunch provided, and the enhanced community time. These are all good stories, but we couldn't know that how this impact the actual prevention of being in the long-term care for them. But this impact assessment was conducted with the medical school at the Keio University. And this is very interesting result that this learning therapy program, it is once a week, like a group sessions and 30 minutes daily exercise by elderly people themselves. shows that the slowdown of their symptoms on getting dementia. So blue line is the people who exercise the program for 1 year, and the people who didn't join in the program is like they have a progress of their like dementia like the symptoms. This is very limited number of data, only 30 people, but this type of effort is helping us to understand how these social interventions will affect the society, because this prevention of the dementia means that our reduction on the long-term care cost, as well as maybe non-monetized cost of the families, like leaving the job for the elderly care is a big the social issue in Japan. So you can easily understand that this has a multiple impact in the society. So we can say that this is a kind of outcome level assessment of the impact. So yeah, this is one of the example that I can tell as a showcase. So as I briefly mentioned, that it is several different segments of society, but they have common interest on the social impact. So we need to understand how this social change is evaluated or assessed, assessed with some both the like in numbers as well as the literatures. And that was started from the government performance assessment, or the non-profit sectors, the performance assessment. But eventually, we have a common set of interests to set a common standard to assess their impact. These are different concepts and the starting point. Like a government, we have all different discussions and evidence-based policy making, or the pay for success, the contract, which also the common program is the participating in, is one of the driver. And for the business, as I mentioned, there is ESG investment or the value creation discussion has a kind of clear to start their discussion. And for the non-profit themselves, the accountability discussion to show the society that how they are performing is the drivers. But we see that the common needs for the setting up of the standard for the impact assessment and management. So I'd like to touch on briefly that how the impact assessment is conducted. It is kind of difficult to do this fully in the very short period of time, but I will try to highlight the important part of the methodologies and how that was evolved over time. This is a very general process that planning and exercising the impact assessment. So we usually make assessment that how these intervention of business will produce the social impact, which is called evaluation design. And in the process of evaluation design, we identify the outcome indicators. So if you think about like education program, maybe the easiest way and the conventional way is take the to let the students take exams and compare these scores in the different schools, age groups, gender, or the different backgrounds of the students. But we also take other indicators, their willingness to study as a kind of a psychological measurement. Or maybe, their growth itself. Maybe, that if you look at the top tier students, that would be good. But maybe if your intention is to create like equality or among the students. Maybe you might need to understand the background attribution of these students and decide that how you focus on particular group of students. And the next step is the data collection. So you set these indicators and you do a data collection and conduct analysis. And this is a very common practice that you can do a segment based analysis to understand, oh, this group of students is performing well and this is not. Why is it? What's the different process of the study, and what's like a psychological or behavior tendency is observed, and reflect it into the business plan, and also maybe you do reporting of these the impact. That is very traditional process of social impact assessment, which has been developed in the policy evaluation or international development evaluation or education, the evaluation in education. And the logic model is a very common practice that to identify the causal relationship between the different activities in the business or the policy implementation. So we say that the study provide educational program, but it's not such simple. Maybe you might organize some group discussions, active learnings, or simply leading assignments, or submit let them submitting report. So that how these activities will be resulted in the outcome you desire, we might need to understand different flows of the impact and the values. So usually we classify these different activities from the activity output and outcome. And the final outcome is sometimes called impact. So this is a kind of example of social impact assessment. As you can see that this is about the financial literacy education, and the provision is by the financial institutions as a CSR activities. And we can conduct analysis like this. So what kind of program will affect recognition of the people who are taking this program, and that will be leading to a set of actions, and that will eventually lead to the status of the society. So let's say that the financial literacy education will help the people to avoid financial risky activities. So somebody say that maybe excessive use of credit cards, or maybe if they don't have a good plan for their asset formulation, but we can intervene of these risks by providing different programs, and that will be leading to their different actions to let these people to financially sustainable, or also that will impact the society, that the more healthy economy will be realized in the future. And so that we can take some of these indicators from this logic model exercise. We can make assessment that what level of literacy by using examining the quiz and test, or we can use the data of their a credit card usage if you have access to these data, or maybe if you're government a body and you have access to their tax filing record. Maybe in the long term, you can understand that how this program is affecting their behaviors. And this logic model exercise is also important to understand if the activities is properly designed to achieve the final outcome. So if you look at this logic model and identify what's a critical path to make the financially independent person in the long term, you can provide a feedback to the program provider or educational institutions to incorporate these factors into the program. So usually the logic model is like a structure from input to outcome, but you can do in the reverse way as a planning purpose. And also the other important aspect of this outcome identification is that we need to identify both intended outcomes and unintended outcomes, and both positive and negative outcomes. So all different businesses try to highlight that where they're doing well. Their products will save some natural resources, and that will be positive impact to the environment, or help the customers to increase their level of utility, or maybe educational programs say that this will help these students to improve their academic scores. But the older business has multiple aspects. And if educational business trying to emphasize their accomplishment, but at the same time, we can easily understand if these children are forced to go to the private schools and feel depressed and drop out from school. This always happens in some segment of the society. So we cannot simply say that simply highlighting the positive aspect of the society. But we still need to take a look on the negative aspect of the business, and to understand what kind of business design or program design will help minimize that risk, or how to mitigate that risk in the different assumptions. The other aspect we always emphasize in the impact assessment is the intended and unintended outcomes. So taking an example of these elderly care programs. So these elderly people get together in the community center once a week, do some mathematics or a language quiz, type of exercise. But actually, what the mostly appreciated by these elderly people is not that exercise itself. You can easily imagine that why these people come to community center every week is that it is fun to meet the neighbors and have a cup of coffee after the program and have a chat somewhere nearby coffee shops. And that will motivate them to keep coming to the program. So maybe you can understand that the people are joking that these elderly people are using local clinics as chat rooms. So we also, but this is very important aspect of the how program realize its impact. So interestingly, for example, this Kumon, the program, I have witnessed that program design, they intentionally set these some the time for the tea breaks is intentionally set longer than the program itself, knowing that elderly people are motivated to come to the program to chat with their neighbors. So this is also giving the business a tip that how they can improve the program to maximize its social impact as well as the financial sustainability, because they feel bored. Because if these elderly people get bored, stop coming to the program, then their business doesn't go well. So these are some of the important aspect of the how you can capture the outcomes. And also the other important part of the impact assessment is that how you can identify your impact, net impact to the contribution to the change. So sometimes there's interesting discussion when I talk to my colleagues in developing countries, let's say Indonesia. And my colleagues at the government organization, non-profit organization doing income, a livelihood improvement in the rural part of Indonesia. And they said that they got a 5% growth of the farmers' income. Sounds good if you have accustomed to the slow growth in Japan. 5% growth, but that's a lot. But if you look at the inflation rate or national GDP growth, well, it's good, but it's not such exceptional. And maybe some of the people question, is this the result of your program implementation? Well, was it natural, naturally provided all the different conditions, exporting, or the farmers got an opportunity to bring the market, bring the products to the market to sell, or the price of these crops go up according to the inflation rate. So we need to find out how we can identify net contribution of the program. And the some people say that they do a baseline and endline comparison, which is necessary, but it's never enough. As I mentioned, this 5% growth in the rural Indonesia is not, it doesn't sound like a very exceptional. So what we can do, maybe the next step we can come up is that we can do a comparison with the regional average. Maybe that within the village, how much growth was there last year. And if you go a few steps further, maybe you can set up a comparison group. The two groups of farmers. One is joining in the program. The other is not. So in the similar conditions, similar income levels at the beginning, and the similar gender ratio, similar ethnics, then we can do some comparison of these two groups, how they performed, and we will find out that gap between two groups, which could be the net contribution of the program. And the actually in the field of impact assessment, randomized controlled trials is very frequently used methodology, which form two groups in the randomized way of picking different people. So maybe you can do a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and the with the same village, the same group of people, but if you can divide two groups, that would be ideal. And also finally that the people will do the literature review of these RCT study to identify that if you want to do a assessment at the policy level. So this is different levels of the impact assessment. And as you can understand, if you want a high level of rigor, that will be costly, and it takes a lot of time and the budget. But if you want to do some simple measurement, which might be good for the small a scale experiment, maybe the comparison with average or non-RCT type of comparison will be sufficient. So this is the other example. So this is called a difference in difference. So as I mentioned, that if the people are working at some certain level of wage, go up, but we still need to look at a benchmark to understand net impact. And this is also important to understand that how you can depict the the different group of people to understand the net contribution. So this is a kind of image of reporting of the impact. You can see that the blue line, which is the project participants, compared to other groups, you can understand this group performing well. Yeah, so these are how you can utilize the impact evaluation to illustrate and communicate that how your program or business is working well or not. And I mentioned that impact management has been the big keyword. So how does it imply? As you can easily understand that impact reporting has been done in the past decades. And the challenge is that even you work on some assessment, produce report, but it's never referred in the process of planning for the next year. Maybe people feel it's strange, because if you are in the business, you do weekly review to see that how customer is reacting and immediately get the feedback to the people at the sales, production, marketing. But this is not properly done in the field of social impact. Why? We didn't have a standardized methodology to assess the impact. But the situation has been changing. So as you can, as I introduced that the different methodology has developed, and we can have all the ICTs, technologies to understand the people's behavior change. So in the COVID situation, the TV news saying that with the mobile data, these movement of the people has decreased such and such. And this is, the very interesting showcase of how we can capture the people's behaviors change with the IT technologies. So all different kind of the innovations brought us the opportunity to conduct the real-time impact assessment and feedback to the business. So this is called impact management cycle, and which is maybe familiar for the people in the business. We can do the PDCA, very short period of time, and to maximize the impact. So this is not a new framework, but something new is that we can do this in the field of social impact. So as I mentioned that there used to be a lot of different methodologies. SROI used to be very known framework for impact assessment. They have development in the end of 90s, and there is a lot of the implementations in the early 2000. And IRIS was the set of indicators developed by the GENE, which is supported by Rockefeller Foundations and other organizations. And also, many of you have heard about B Corps. B Corp is also one of the way to assess the social impact of the companies. And finally, the SDGs came onto our table, and that was the kind of the consensus of what is social impact and what kind of indicators we can use to assess the social impact. So, I'm seeing there's a confusion of what methodology means. And this is a nicely structured pyramid by the people at the CIMI. And the people are usually impressed by the indicator sets. Some organizations say that they have identified 800 indicators in such and such field, and they can customize to use as a standardized measurement. But this is just a way to identify outcomes, right? But we need to identify the standardized way to approach. As I mentioned, that it's a different levels on the identifying the net contribution to the change. So we also need to have the guidelines, that people can follow to do some comparable data on the different assessment practices. And also, before that, we need to understand what will be measured and in what principles. So if you are in accounting, there's an interesting approach copied by the social impact assessment from the accounting. So it's always a challenge to define all different details. So in the accounting, instead of like defining all different rules, they get the principles, and the auditors check these accounting rules to see that this accounting rules is following the principles. So the same kind of practice are there in the social impact assessment, which is more higher level of hierarchy of evaluation method pyramid. And also important reporting standards need to be standardized to leaders to understand how this report is structured and how they identify the important information to report out. And this is how we are seeing a convergence between different organizations. So you can see that different logos on this page, but actually there's a common players. So impact management project, you can see that these organizations like UNDP, IFC, OECD, PRI, Social Value International, and the IFC has also their own principles on the impact investing, but this is also supported by other groups. So after a decade of discussion, that is the good achievement that we agreed to set the same principles, mutually interchangeable. And the one of big accomplishment is SDG impact. I'd like to discuss in the last part of my presentation. But SDG impact, if you go to the UNDP's website, maybe you might be confused because there's not much document yet disclosed. But if you have been in the sector for some time, you will find that the small piece of document is nicely connecting different principles, different set of indicators, and they have all different references to take a look on the outside of the document. So interesting thing is that the people decided not to reinvent the wheel. And instead of that, they started to saying that this standard is based on IMP impact assessment norms. And also they touch on the global compact like principles or UN women's empowerment principles, so that they utilize different initiatives to consolidate it to a complete set of knowledge, so that ensure a comprehensiveness that people can use. So IMP's like contribution is to set the 5 dimensions of the impact, the way how we can look at the impact, how much contribution risk. And we also set that they also set the 15 different questions, the impact categories they call, and the and also that how they can take indicators from each categories. And for the indicators, the gene, which originally issued the first set of indicators in 2008, they renovated that set of knowledge in 2019, and they released the new set of the knowledge called IRIS Plus. And they say that this indicator set is designed to use with the IMP methodologies. So the genes indicators define that what to measure, and IMP defines how to measure. So this is a nice combination of different knowledge. And also the application to the different fields, so that I take all different example from the government, business, or the investment. But IFCs are leading their initiative to set a standard in the impact investing. So they have 9 principles of social investment, and many of the impact funds sign up these principles to say that we are compliant with the IFC's principles to make the social impact maximized. And the other aspect of the the ecosystem is the impact-weighted accounting, which is getting people's attention by the research by Harvard Business Schools recently. And this is the practice how they can integrate the accounting practice with the social impact. And they have published the different industries, standards, and how they can account the value into the to integrate accounting. So recently, I see that ASI, a Japanese company, has released the report using this impact-weighted accounting methodology. So come to the SDG impact. So I say that this is a nice convergence of different methodologies, and that they are facilitating all different discussions. And if you go to SDG impact website, these standards are disclosed. Enterprises, for the enterprises, the one for the private equity funds, the one for bonds issuers. And they have a common aspect, emphasis on the governance. This is interesting evolution of the impact management, because the people used to focus on what to report, how to measure, but not much attention to how to reflect this information to the management, which is needed by the governance structure to be ensured its impact governance to be realized. So SDG impact standards say that they have 4 components: strategy, management approach, transparency, and governance. And importantly, they say that they will start the certification process from next year. And so this is the fundamental difference from the standards like GRI. And people say that this company's, my company's reporting, impact reporting, is based on the GRI reporting standard, but there's no certification process on that. But the SDGs impact say that they will start a process to put the seal on it. And the other important aspect that we need to take a look is that, as I mentioned, that they don't do whole range of the impact assessment, the standard setting, but they look at this decision-making framework is missing from all different set of knowledges. So we have principles, we have goals like SDGs, and also we have different tools of the impact management like SROI or IMP. And also we have disclosure standards, but something missing or something we need to enhance is the decision-making framework. So that is the philosophy behind SDG impact. And so we cannot touch on all the details today, but maybe if you're interested in these documents are disclosed, and you can see that how this strategy is defined, or what level of governance is required. And this is very interesting, like a social experiment. And I know that many of the Japanese companies are very interested in getting a seal on SDGs, because maybe, you know, the all different consultants saying that the different things that you can say that this is the way that we can say your business is compliant with SDGs, putting all the different color tiles and say that we are contributing this and that, but there's no assurance process behind that. So that is the big change coming sometime soon. And each like standards are very defined in a very sophisticated way. You can see that these are practice indicators, and for example, like the strategy is defined in the 3 different items, and you can see that the other way of definition and the other items as well. But as I mentioned, that this is kind of the other levels of the impact management implementation in our society. So why this is significant is that one reason is that this is a paradigm shift from impact assessment to impact management. So people always say that it's important to utilize that information into the management, but actually that kind of practice was not exercised. Report was published, they feel like relieved, they feel good, and we are doing good things, but are they seriously taking that data into the board management discussions or policy formulation processes? Maybe that was not really enough. And also we are trying to consolidate all different pieces of knowledge and materialize it to a seal. And the UNDP says that they are going to open a public bid for the different consulting firms to be if they are interested in the like assurance law, and they will release all the different set of specifications, public notice. So and the multiple entities will be active. They are expect to be active in the different countries. So this will be the open process that we're starting next year. So as conclusion, I would say that we are living in a very exciting moment of the transformation of society, and the impact-driven economy is coming soon. And we have all different data we can utilize, and all the technologies are there. And also we have a sense of emergency to take some actions. Otherwise, this society will be very difficult situation. And lastly, that this is a small information that if you're interested in more, please look at our website. And this is an international conference. Everybody can take part in, and we have like 40-some sessions in 2 days, all online, and I think different level of the interest will be met in the different set of knowledge. Okay, so this is end of my presentation, and I welcome to take any questions if you have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ito, for a very comprehensive presentation with a lot of data, detailed explanations about, I suppose, a shift from impact evaluation to impact management, and now in SDG impact standard. Thank you very much. Now we have some questions raised in advance. So I will show in the screen here. All right, so we have 4 pre-raised questions, and then we are having a few questions coming through as well. So we'll quickly go through the first one. Now, this is the first question is, are there any examples of companies that address societal challenges and at the same time raise the price to book ratio? PBR?
Yes, good question. Thank you very much. So this is very frequent asked questions. And the investors are not interested in social impact as long as it will not reflected in the books. So honestly speaking, that we still don't know because we don't have any standardized like assessment framework. There's some like a group of like companies who has used a common set of the impact assessment indicators, but it's too small to conduct analysis that if their higher social impact is resulted in the higher market price. But the with this SDG impact type of standards, I think that will be feasible in the near future. But something you can easily understand is that so if you are trying to invest into the edutech ventures, what is the measure impact indicator? That will be, of course, academic performance or like a demonstrated development of the potential capability of students. That will be, the driver of these parents to pay for the service, which will directly reflected in the value of the venture. So, so that is very easy to understand easy to understand example of how impact indicators will reflect into the corporate value. But this is not the always because some of the B2B businesses doesn't have such a simple logic model from impact to the economic value. But we will see in maybe after 3 years time, we have good data that which companies have sealed with SDG impact and how are their market price or what's like their IPO, like the price at the IPO. And we can do some like analysis that how this social impact will result in the economic value.
Thank you. Thank you. If we have a bit of time at the end, I think I also have some questions around the IPO as well. Okay. The next question is, what are the themes of specific SDGs that are of high potential in impact investing? Are there any differences among countries in ASEAN? How about this?
So this is also the frequently asked question, but as you can see from the practice, this is several particular field which has the advantage of the being assessed. So like countries like Japan, who has the a healthcare insurance system, it's easy to understand these healthcare activities are conducted. And if we have access to the government data, we can understand what group of people are spending how much on the medications or like treatment and how often they go to the hospital and so on. So and also like nutrition, we have all scientific methodology, and the so something difficult is maybe education. Right? Education takes a lot of time to be realized. So the people say that the it takes 10, 15, 20 or 30 years so that like early childhood education will impact to the society. So this is kind of rather difficult to implement, but we have some innovations. We have some early indicators. Some people like the researchers trying to find the early indicators how the children's psychological change will reflect the their achievement in the future. So this is you're right that we have all different contrast of easy to assess field and difficult to assess, but we have all innovative methodology to close that gap. And is there any difference among countries in ASEAN? Well, obviously the data availability is the key. If you go into some developing countries, there's no like a record of the people's behavior, like countries like Japan or Singapore, it's very easy, you know, that we have a my number, type of system, and if the government or people agrees to disclose, use that data, Taiwan is a good example. They have all different technologies, AI technology to optimize process of vaccination and so on, right? So there's a different level of challenges in the different other countries. Okay, am I answering that question?
Yeah. Thank you. The next third question: who's interested in this movement of SDG impact standard, and who's mainly driving it? I think you partially answered this question too, but what do you think is shaping this movement?
Yes, so this is the very interesting, so that in the first, a third slide of my presentation said there's a different people driving this movement from different reasons. And something I feel very interesting is that this social value creation concept is very much discussed and highlighted in the top tier corporates in the different industries. So 2 years ago, I conducted the impact assessment, so that the people think that the impact assessment used to be a way to assess the CSR, but that was not the CSR people, but the corporate planning type of a sustainability department came to me and said that they want to assess the value of the recruitment services, so that this business model is the charge the companies who hire the people, so that the if I'm a agent, recruiting agent, if I capture some a good capability, nice profile people to introduce the position they are trying to fill, and if my introduction meet their the expectation, they will willing to pay me some fees or continue to conduct some business with a recruitment agent. But they say that this is old model, so that if we looking at these company to hire, they say that this market doesn't grow. I ask that, what do you mean? So you are doing well, you are the top learner, biggest market share, and you're dominant, and usually company go to you to find a good candidate to fill. But they said that, oh, well, this is not. So the story they told me is very interesting. So that the important thing is that the person trying to find a job have a good experience, that he or she need to find a way that, oh, this is the job I have never thought about, but this agent told me, just try it, to go to interview, to talk to them. And wow, this is realized that I say that I want to be a marketing professional, but actually I have the other capability to be demonstrated. If this happens, their business will be growing, because that maybe this person find a job for another time, he will come back. Maybe this person will tell their friends and colleagues, well, this agent has a kind of insight that identify what is real capability and the desire. But this is much more potential than understanding this HR manager, what type of job they want to fill in, or what kind of capability this company requires. So don't you think this is kind of interesting, different way of looking at how this recruiting service demonstrate the value? And this is the social, maybe this also relate to the first question, so that this is the social value at the same time, the marketability of that service. So, and interestingly, similar kind of question is asked by different corporate leaders in different industries. The people in the life insurance company came to us, say that they want to understand the value like indicators to value of the insurance. What do you mean the value of the insurance? The value of the insurance is to give like a peace of mind the people, that the people feel that, oh, I'm free of risk, even if something happens, but I'm insured. So that is the value of the insurance. But if we look at office in the insurance company, salespeople are running around to get a signature, like get the seal of the insurance document. And if they got the contract, wow, that's a goal. So this is, don't you think this is the interesting contrast of the value, which is value statement of the insurance company and actual reality in the sales office in the insurance company. So this person said that we need to integration of these two realities. And he said that it's not easy to come up with some idea that how this client purchased insurance policy feels safe. But we need to think about how this value is measured. And hopefully one day that will incorporate into the incentives of these salespeople at the insurance. So, and this insurance company is actually one of the biggest insurance companies. And I started to wonder why these corporates, that they seems like very successful. And they later on, some other like a medium-sized company come to me and say that they want to do an impact assessment. And so this is common, like a dialogue, right? Why do you want to do this practice? And you have all different GRI standards and so on. But so that these they're like a medium-sized company. So maybe size is not the matter, but their mindset differs. So that some people say that, well, actually, we are the supplier of like a big, like an automotive company, and last quarter they sent us such questionnaire to describe, like, please disclose your social impact, and we need to come up with some logic, what information to put. So this is kind of follower mindset, like a corporate. So that there's all different levels of the drivers, but I would say that the value creation is the one of the, how to say, major driver why these market leaders started to think about the social impact. And that is also related to the impact investing. So that impact investors try to find the investees which has the potential maximization of social value. So I think this is also one of the questions raised in the chat box. Social impact evaluation more of the interest of investors than investees. Micro, small, medium-sized business may not have the capacity for impact evaluation, and investors may have teach them how. Yes, so that is true. So I said that this is a kind of trickle down effect. So this started by GPIF, the huge government investor, to say that social impact is important. And when they declared that allocation of that resource, what was happening in market is that asset managers, interestingly, they came to us and said that, well, in order to get investors' money, we need to have a product in investing into the impact investing businesses, impact businesses. And then like stock or bond issuers started to think that we need to come up with some logic. We need to come up with some policy framework. So we don't have to teach them, but I think this like a water, they flow naturally. But you're right that maybe medium, small enterprises doesn't have such capacity to do it by themselves. So I think that's a law of public sector or international organization like ASEAN-Japan Center to disseminate that knowledge and to support them to keep up with the public expectation. Otherwise, there might be some like gap, like social impact gap some people want to invest into the social impact, will keep up with the market requirement, and some, doesn't have the capacity, will, drop out from the market company. So that is something we need to think about. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I think there's a lot to take in, I suppose, from these 2-3 questions. Just to follow up on this particular question, though, the last question, it says, micro, small, medium-sized businesses may not have the capacity for impact evaluation, and investors may have to teach them how. You mentioned that public sector has to play this role, but do you also think that investors may can also take that role?
I think yes. And also, actually, there's interesting, how to say, the changing behaviors of the investors. So when I first saw the IMP framework, I think that was in 2018, I feel this seems like something familiar, but something different from the traditional SIA, which was exercised in the like public sector or international development. And the difference is that they don't emphasize like logic model. But I was wondering why is that? But after exposed to the actual social investors or people who is interested in setting up impact funds, I realized that actually IMP's approach is pretty reasonable, because as you know, that is the person who asked this SIA process seemed to be time consuming and practical methodology solve many conflicts among evaluators in the SIA process. So that was common question. So that actually this methodology was originally developed in the policy evaluation environment or international development. So it is kind of how to say, not strange to spend the 5% of total budget into impact assessment in the government aid, or maybe even 3%. But if you are investor, oh, well, if the 5% of that total investment is spent on evaluation, where is my profit? So that is not accepted. So you can see that the all different small details in the IMP, because the IMP suppose that their main users are investors. They try to capture minimum critical so that we can meet the investors' expectation or public expectation to be to identify the important information with the minimized workload. So that is the way that the people are trying to expand the impact market.
Thank you. Thank you. You mentioned about data availability, but also I suppose here we're talking about data capacity, resource available for that to happen. The next question. As an expert who's been deeply engaged in this field of impact assessment and SDG impact management, what do you wish to see in this field of SDG impact in impact investing? It's a double-barrel question. What are the hurdles for it to be materialized?
Well, I think the I still say that the mindset of the people. So if you are the follower position and the trying to get the competitive advantage of the market, maybe you will not in the position creating a new values. I think maybe this is sounds like a textbook or like a business school, but and also interesting maybe interesting quote of these group of people who come to us and they want to capture the social impact of the business. some of them say that actually social impact is the early indicator of economic impact. So I think this is very interesting way of capturing social impact. So that but actually these are all same kind of saying in the Japanese traditional business concept, right? So that we have all the like a sample yoshi, like a triple win between customer, the like a business and the community is the key. But they say that like this, as I mentioned in the example of the education business, so that the if you perform well in the social impact, that will lead to the multiplied opportunities in the business. And the so if we can prove that cycle in the different fields, I think that will be the other way of creating and maximizing the social value in the society. So that's I hope that everybody understand this is the challenge. We can prove our capability and potentiality, and hopefully everybody can join us in this journey.
Thank you. I think particularly the story or narrative that you mentioned about this recruitment agency was also quite interesting, in a sense that it's not just a recruitment agency, but it's more of taking an educational role or coaching role where they're trying to empower and enable the clients to appreciate and also recognize the capacity that they bring. So yeah, the shift in mindset of all the players is something that Mr. Ito is wishing to see in this space. And I suppose it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of different actors to be able to materialize.
And also, since the majority of the audience here is in Japan, I want to emphasize that this is the like one of a few ways we can contribute to the society, because we are in a shrinking like economy, shrinking population, and we are in the position to find a new way to create a social value. So maybe in the people in the uprise economy say that, oh well, the productivity, if we put the social productivity aside, our society will progress, population increase, market growth. But we are not in that phase. And actually, if we can find the way to increase the social value in the shrinking economy, don't you think that will be the very like a persuasive story you can tell to the rest of the world, right? So that the growth is not the only way. And we have the other way to maximize your potential or your happiness. And we have such models, products, services. I think that is the way we can contribute. So this is also echoed with the concept of SDGs. SDGs is not about the poverty in the developing countries, but we have same challenges in different aspects of the different place of the society, and we have a chance to contribute to that cause.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, growth is not the only way to go about it. And the use of the word even, growth, may not be the right term to use it, growth, development, or maybe something else to use. Yeah, and you also mentioned that early indicator of economic impact is societal impact, which I thought was quite an interesting point to make. Thank you. We have about 5 minutes before we close. Is it okay to actually quickly go ask one question? It's about the certification of the SDG impact standard that you mentioned. You talked about the process being, it will be open bidding process, and then the consulting companies are going to bid in that process. Does that mean that they will be the ones that will certify and seal?
We have regular contact with UNDP because Social Value International contracted the development of the training materials and the processes. And we also plan to pilot in Japan as one of the countries roll out in the first phase. And according to them, the UNDP will start putting public notice on that process in the early next year. And as far as I understand that they will control the quality, but the actual implementation will be, they try to decentralize as much as possible according to them. So I appreciate this is kind of a open process that the people can participate. And so I encourage the audience, if you're interested in, keep an eye on the public notice on the website, and we have all different opportunity to engage in this movement.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we're coming to the end of the webinar. Thank you very much for staying on till the end of the seminar here. And there is a lot of information to take in just within an hour and a half. But you will be able to receive the lecture materials once you complete the survey questionnaire. So please, we appreciate if you can cooperate in that survey questionnaire. Now, before we close, I have one reminder to share with you. The next seminar that we have is in November the 9th at 3 p.m. Tokyo time. And we will have Miss Satoko Kono from Arun. So she herself has founded and is leading this Arun social investment fund, investing in Cambodia, India, and beyond. So we will have that webinar in the next month on the 9th of November. And we will send you through the information via our newsletter soon. Okay, so this is it. Thank you very much, everyone, all the participants for joining today, and Mr. Ito for your great insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to having you again in November, and see you very soon, and take care. Thank you.